You are not separate. The words fall like a whisper from the edge of eternity, simple yet infinite. Ibn Arabi once said, "There is no existence but God's existence." In those few syllables, he shattered the illusion of distance that defines human life. To him, every leaf, every breath, every grain of sand was not a thing apart, but a reflection of the same divine light. The universe, in his eyes, was a mirror, and what we see as ourselves is only God seeing himself through countless forms. This was not a metaphor for Ibn Arabi. It was the most real truth a human being could ever know. He was born in Murcia, in the heart of Muslim Spain, in 1165, an age when poetry, philosophy, and faith intertwined like threads of the same cosmic fabric. From the very beginning, his life was marked by visions, moments where the veil between the seen and unseen thinned. As a young man, he was drawn to silence, to reflection, to the mystery that glowed behind appearances. He would walk through the narrow streets of Andalusia, hearing in the sound of the wind not mere movement, but divine speech. It is said that even the marketplace and the mosque spoke to him of God, because for Ibn Arabi there was nothing else to speak of. He called this realization Wahdat al-Wujud, the unity of being. To the ordinary mind, the world appears divided, creator and creation, heaven and earth, good and evil, you and me. But Ibn Arabi saw that all opposites dissolve when seen through the eye of the heart. God is the outward and the inward, he wrote, the first and the last. In this vision, the boundaries that confine us, nationality, religion, even selfhood, begin to fade. What remains is a vast ocean of being, without center or edge, endlessly reflecting its own beauty. To understand Ibn Arabi is to understand that the divine is not somewhere else. It is here, now, breathing through us, thinking through us, longing through us. The mystic's path, as he described, is not a journey to God, but a journey through God, for there is no step that takes you away from him. Each act of seeing, feeling, or knowing is already divine participation. This is why he called the human being the mirror of God, not because we resemble him in form, but because consciousness itself is the stage upon which the divine becomes self-aware. And yet, Ibn Arabi did not preach detachment from the world. He did not flee from its colors or its contradictions. He saw love, earthly and heavenly, as the great revealer of truth. My heart has become capable of every form, he wrote, a pasture for gazelles, a monastery for monks. I follow the religion of love. Wherever its camels turn, their love is my religion and my faith. This was not poetry for its own sake. It was revelation. He saw love as the force that unites all opposites, the bridge between the human and the divine, the seen and the unseen. To live without love, Ibn Arabi believed, was to live half awake. For love is the motion of the cosmos itself, the yearning of the infinite to know itself in form. When you love, you dissolve the boundary between yourself and what is loved. The lover disappears, and only love remains. That, to Ibn Arabi, was God's secret. The Creator did not fashion the world from loneliness, but from the overflowing joy of seeing his own reflection multiplied without end. He often wrote of dreams and visions, of meeting prophets and saints who revealed to him the unseen dimensions of reality. In one such vision, he encountered the Prophet Muhammad, who told him, "This is the seal of sainthood." Ibn Arabi understood this as a sign that the age of inner realization had no limits, that the human soul could rise endlessly in knowledge, love, and awareness. But he warned that intellect alone could not take you there. The mind, he said, is like a candle. It illuminates, but it cannot embrace the sun. To see truth, one must surrender the self that seeks. Many of his contemporaries found his teachings bewildering, even dangerous. Theologians accused him of blurring the line between God and creation. But Ibn Arabi saw no blasphemy in unity. He saw it as the purest form of reverence. To separate yourself from God, he thought, is the true arrogance. To recognize your being as his breath, that is humility. For even the denial of God happens within God's being. Nothing exists outside the infinite, not belief, not disbelief, not life, not death. Through his writings, vast, intricate works like the Meccan Revelations and the Bezels of Wisdom, he built a universe of thought where reason and revelation embraced. He mapped the soul's journey from ignorance to illumination, not as a flight from the world, but as a recognition of its divine depth. The world, he wrote, is God's imagination, a continuous act of creation renewed at every moment. You are being imagined right now by the infinite as part of his endless dream. And so when Ibn Arabi said, "You are not separate," he was not offering comfort, he was offering awakening. To see through the illusion of division is to bear the weight of unity. For when you know that everything is divine, nothing is trivial anymore. Every act, every thought, every glance becomes sacred. The bird's cry, the silence between breaths, the rise and fall of your own heartbeat, all of it is prayer. He spent his life wandering from Andalusia to Mecca, from Damascus to Baghdad. Yet wherever he went, he found the same truth waiting in every horizon, that God is not found by travel, but by remembrance. The world outside is only the shadow of the world within. When the seeker finally stops searching, when the mind surrenders its questions, the heart begins to hear the echo. You were never apart. He grew older, but the fire within him only deepened. In Damascus, where his final years unfolded, Ibn Arabi became a living paradox, both a scholar of unmatched intellect and a poet who dissolved the very boundaries of intellect itself. His followers gathered not to learn formulas of theology, but to feel the vibration of truth in his words. He spoke not from the tongue, but from the heart's silence. People said that when Ibn Arabi began to speak, it was as if the air itself leaned closer to listen. He spoke of realities that could not be written, truths too vast for the alphabet to contain. To him, speech was only the shadow of understanding. The true language of God was silence. In his later writings, he described creation as a mirror reflecting the divine in endless variations. The forms change, he wrote, but the face of the One remains. Each creature is a revelation, an unveiling of God's infinite possibilities. To harm another being, to scorn a stranger, or to see oneself as superior was, in his eyes, an act of blindness to the divine that moves through all forms. He once wrote that God's mercy is wider than imagination, encompassing every soul, even those who deny it. There is no outside to that mercy, no exile from that ocean, and yet we build walls within our hearts, imagining that love belongs only to some. Ibn Arabi shattered those walls with a single insight. If everything exists through God, then everything is loved by God. The mystic's life was never without misunderstanding. His vision of unity frightened the rigid minds of his time. Some scholars called him a heretic, others revered him as Al-Sheikh Al-Akbar, the greatest master. He accepted both names with equal peace, for he saw praise and blame as two breaths of the same divine wind. The ignorant man, he wrote, calls me unbeliever. The knower sees only the truth I reflect. In this humility lay his greatness. He had emptied himself so completely that the judgments of the world passed through him like light through glass. Ibn Arabi's heart belonged not to one religion, but to the essence behind them all. He saw prophets not as rivals, but as facets of the same eternal wisdom. All prophets, he said, are one in their reality. Their differences are only in their forms. In this way, he transcended the divisions of creed long before the world dreamed of such unity. He believed that the divine speaks through every culture, every age, every heart that listens. For him, truth was not a possession, it was a living current flowing through existence. One cannot hold it, only become transparent to it. His idea of perfect man, al-insan al-kamil, stands as one of the pillars of his philosophy. This is the human who becomes fully conscious of being a reflection of the divine. The perfect man does not escape the world. He embraces it as God's own body. To live as such is not to rise above humanity, but to awaken within it. It is to see the sacred in the ordinary, in the face of a child, in the rhythm of the seasons, in the brief touch of a stranger's kindness. In every encounter, the perfect man meets God again. He taught that knowledge without love is sterile, and love without knowledge is blind. The two must intertwine like light and warmth in the flame. For Ibn Arabi, the intellect's purpose was not to dissect the world, but to recognize its divine pattern. He urged seekers to balance reason with vision, to let the mind serve the heart rather than dominate it. The heart, he wrote, is the throne of God. When the heart becomes pure, its understanding surpasses books and sermons. It begins to see what eyes cannot, the unity beneath difference, the eternal within the fleeting. In his final days, Ibn Arabi was often seen walking through Damascus at dawn, the sun still hidden behind the hills. His steps were slow, his gaze serene. To those who followed him, he seemed less a man than a moving silence. He once told a student, "Do not seek God elsewhere. You will not find him in the sky, nor in the temple, nor in the books. Look instead in the mirror of your soul." "That is where he hides in plain sight," the student asked. "How can I know if I have found him?" Ibn Arabi smiled and replied, "When you no longer find yourself." He passed away in 1240, leaving behind not an empire, but an inner world that would shape the centuries to come. His writings traveled from Andalusia to Persia, from the Ottoman courts to the libraries of India. Poets, philosophers, and saints drew from his ocean of thought. Rumi, Jami, and countless others felt the echo of his voice in their own hearts. His tomb in Damascus remains a place of quiet pilgrimage, where seekers from every land come not to worship him, but to remember the truth he revealed, that God is nearer than the pulse beneath your skin. Centuries have passed, empires have fallen, languages have changed, but Ibn Arabi's words remain alive because they touch something eternal in the human soul. In a world still divided by race, creed, and desire, his message burns with quiet urgency. You are not separate. When you hurt another, you wound yourself. When you love, you heal the world. The divine does not live in distant heavens. It breathes through every heart, waiting to be recognized. So perhaps the greatest act of worship is not to bow, but to awaken, to look at the stranger, the friend, the enemy, and see no difference. To forgive because you see your own face in theirs. To live as if everything were sacred because it is. This is the truth Ibn Arabi gave to humanity, not as doctrine, but as remembrance. You were never apart. The light you seek is already shining within you, and when all words fall silent and all philosophies dissolve, his voice still echoes across time. Between you and God, there is only you. Remove yourself, and he is there.